All right, hello everyone. My name is Eric Simonza. I'm the product manager at GIS Planning for SizeUp and for SizeUp for Local Business Intelligence, which is also known as SizeUp LBI. And that's what we're going to be talking about a lot today. You'll mostly be hearing from Mark Hayes. He's our national sales executive for SizeUp LBI. He's going to be showing you how you can help grow your local businesses using some very sophisticated tools, and particularly how you can approach your local businesses about these tools. Before we get started, though, I just want to briefly cover some logistics of the webinar. On the right-hand side of your screen, you will see a panel that will allow you to type in your questions at any point during the presentation. You just have to go to the Questions tab. There will be a Q&A session at the end of the webinar, and we will do our best to address any questions we've received then. You will also get our contact information, so in case you come up with a question after the webinar is over, don't worry about it. You'll know how to reach us. We'll also reach out to all attendees by email shortly after the webinar to make sure all your questions are answered. So don't worry, you'll know how to get a hold of us. So now I'd like to introduce our main speaker. Mark Hayes joined GIS Planning as the SizeUp LBI National Sales Executive in August of last year. Prior to joining our team, he did 4 years of hard time at the Clarksville Area Chamber of Commerce in Middle Tennessee. There, he led retention efforts of over 1,200 members, as well as assisting with membership, advertising, and sponsorships. When not working, Mark enjoys stressing himself out on the golf course and spending time with his wife. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Mark.
All right. Well, good morning or good afternoon to everybody. Again, thank you for that, Eric. That was a kind introduction there. I am going to be running through most of our webinar today. I will be sharing SizeUp LBI with you, kind of doing some background information and then showing you how you can use this within your organization to help both you and your small businesses and your members prosper. I do want to give a disclaimer at the beginning here. This webinar is really going to be steered towards chambers of commerce. However, if you are an economic development organization, which we have a few of you on here, and even a small business development center or two are on here, this still is going to be valuable to you. I will tell you maybe the first 5 minutes of it or first 10 minutes, you might have a little bit of this doesn't pertain to me at all, why am I watching this type feeling, but I promise after that first few minutes, it will start making sense and you'll see like, okay, for my organization, this makes a lot of sense too. But to start it out, I'm really just going to be speaking to chambers of commerce just because that was the idea behind this at first, but I'm glad you guys could join us as well. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. So we're going to start out with a PowerPoint. Everyone loves a good PowerPoint. So this will just be a few minutes, but I just want to start out kind of going with the basics and making sure we all kind of have a clear understanding of what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish and the best way to accomplish that. So the chambers of commerce. It's fun to ask a group of people, if this weren't a webinar, and say, what's your definition of a chamber? And we would hear 1,000 different definitions, and they would all just be kind of goofy and funny. But there actually are a couple definitions that no matter what you do, they say if you've seen one chamber, you've seen one chamber, but as a whole, we all kind of do the same thing. So defined by ACCE, a chamber of commerce is an organization of businesses seeking to further their collective interests while advancing their community, region, state, or nation. That's a great definition, very broad, very basic, but that's exactly what it is a chamber does. The thing that stands out the most to me in this definition are the words organization of businesses. So a chamber is an organization of businesses. I know a lot of us, and even if you just ask a random person, hey, what's the Chamber of Commerce or who's the chamber? They're going to say, oh, that's Mark, Joe, Steve, and Sally down there in that big brick building next to City Hall who they put on awesome golf tournaments and networking events this year. The point is the membership is the chamber. It's not the people. It's not us who are serving the membership. It's the membership itself that is the Chamber of Commerce, and we need to keep that in mind to make sure we're serving what the chamber actually is. The mission of the chamber, everyone has a different mission, but ultimately it's all the same. So to build attractive communities, that's for residents, that's for visitors, and that's also for investors. You know, we partner with a lot of organizations. So maybe we're partnering with the city or the county to make sure we're beautifying our downtown, to make sure that we're building parks for the residents, to make sure we're having greenways and just different things that are going to make people enjoy living there. Because really when someone selects where they want to be, it's mostly off the quality of life. And it's a big job of ours to make sure that those things are upkept. For visitation, obviously, a lot of visitors bureaus cover that, but we partner with them and we make sure that there's things to do in our town. There's reasons for people to come. There's places to go once they're here. There's places to stay. So that's another huge thing that we do that brings money into our town. And then for investors, obviously we want to make sure that we have a workforce that's viable and that's skilled. And we want to make sure that there are people that are going to bring their families, that are going to bring these jobs, are going to be somewhere that, you know, is a good place to raise a family and good schools. And so the chamber has a responsibility in all of that. And the first thing we do is just a huge job. We promote those communities, secondly. So that might not be promoting through print, but we're promoting our community through telling our story. Not enough of us tell our story. If you have a success, tell that story and celebrate it. Make sure that you're promoting your community and, you know, giving it the credit it deserves. We're striving to ensure prosperity via a pro-business climate. And these aren't my words. These are the ACCE words, and that's a big job right there. You're supposed to create a pro-business client that's going to ensure prosperity. And the word ensure there is crazy. It's like, wow, you need to guarantee that every member is going to be prosperous due to the things you're doing with the business climate. And that's huge. You're going to represent a unified voice of the employer community. So for every small business out there, you're going to, you know, be the one that goes to the city, that goes to the county government, that goes up to the state capitol and even into the national capitol and speaks about what it is that your businesses need. I know not a lot of them agree on everything or mostly anything, but as a whole, your membership probably agrees with certain things that are going to help make business easier for them. And if they're, you know, if your organization exists, they don't have to focus on politics or on law. They can focus on what they do and let you work in the background to help them do what they do. And lastly, you're to reduce transactional friction through well-functioning networks. Again, that's another fun little bullet point there. But, you know, basically you're going to make as little barriers as possible for businesses to be able to do businesses with each other and everybody else more easily. And that's a lot of big jobs. So I know if I were a small business and you came to me and this was your sell, I would be like, yeah, I'm on board. If I'm just paying a couple $100s a year and you're doing this much for me in the background so that I can do my job, of course, it's a no-brainer. I need to join your organization. Unfortunately, not everyone sees that vision, and a lot of people, in fact, don't see that vision. And it's a me world we live in now. So what exactly are you doing for me, and how are you doing it? And that's a struggle we've come to find. So an answer I got a lot when I was out talking with members or potential members was, it's great that you do all that for the community, but how exactly will I benefit from joining your organization? And, you know, I would just pause for a minute because I usually expect this, and in my head I'm thinking I just explained to you exactly what I'm doing for the entire community, and your organization's part of that business community. But, you know, I would understand that question, and I'd say, well, you know, the chamber can't exist and do everything we do without our membership, without funding. That's how the chamber gets their money, and a lot of them don't get any public money. So without a membership, obviously there's no members. With no members, there's no funding. With no funding, there's no staff that's doing all these things in the background for you. So I'd explain that to them and be like, that's why you have to join. It's because if everyone has your attitude, we cease to exist, and everybody loses. Next, I would hear, sure, I understand, but won't you be doing all of this whether I join or not? And I know there's some people in this webinar that laughed at that statement because it's hurt a lot. Like, whether I join or not, you're going to be doing all these things. And that's when I really would just, you know, kind of look at the floor almost and be like, yeah, but if everyone has that attitude, again, nobody wins. So I got pretty good at what is called the implied facepalm. You can't actually throw your hand in your face. So you have to just, I realized I started to give this look like, man, you're just not going to get it, are you? So the good news is chambers now have a lot of added value. So we, as a whole, you know, maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, realized, all right, you have to do something specifically for businesses for them to want to be a part of your organization, not just all this stuff in the background that's helping your community prosper. So added value things. We got networking events. We're going to provide a venue. We're going to provide drinks. We're going to provide food. We're going to invite hundreds of other business owners. You can exchange ideas. You can exchange problems. You can exchange business cards. You can do business together, shake a bunch of hands. Maybe the mayor's there. Maybe city councilmen are there. Maybe, I mean, there's just an endless possibility of who you're going to meet. And this networking event's part of your membership. It's exclusive to you. And if you do one deal, one business deal out of this, out of all the ones you come to, you can probably pay your membership 10 times over. So great opportunity there. Promotion. We're going to put you in our directory. We're going to put you on our website. we're also going to make sure that if there's calls in, we're going to refer you. We're going to refer, if you're the only business that does a certain thing, we're going to refer you because you're a member. If you are not, you won't get that referral. Chamber exclusive discounts. Maybe we partnered with Office Depot and you get 5% off paper for as long as you're a chamber member. You buy enough paper, eventually you're going to pay for your membership. Event access, like I said earlier, a lot of educational type events. Maybe we do a lunch and learn series where you're going to learn how to effectively use LinkedIn, other social networking. Maybe there's a QuickBooks seminar where we're going to show you how you can save money on all your accounting through QuickBooks. And my ace in the hole, if they were still giving me that I'm not sure look, I'm going to tell them we offer free beer at a lot of these things. After that, I'm out of cards. So if they're not sold by free beer, that's about it for me. And when I was at the chamber, I hated that because I was like, I wish there was something out there that made our paying your invoice from us as valuable as paying your mortgage or your electric bill. It was I wanted them to feel like that we were an essential part of them being successful. And chambers are that valuable. It's just unfortunately it's most of that background work that is not appreciated by the new me generation. So after this, I would usually stand up, shake their hand, thank them for their time, and say, you know what? If you change your mind, if you have a change of heart, we're always going to be around. We're still going to be working for you. We're going to be helping you out. Obviously there's a whole lot more value to being a member versus not being a member, but you're still part of the community. And as the chamber, we are the business community. So that's how I would end it, and hopefully in the future they join. But I went and set out looking for something that would be that kicker that said, hey, you need this, and you can only have this if you're a chamber member. And that's when I found SizeUp LBI. I actually met these guys when I was at ACCE last year in Oklahoma City, and was impressed with the product, thought it was great, and like happens in the chamber world, I ended up working for the other side afterwards. But what caught my attention was the product, and I believe in it enough where I thought this could affect chambers nationwide, and it's that product I'm looking for. That is the reason to be a chamber member. If you never see that member's face again, they can do all this on their own, in their own office, in their own home. They can do competitive intelligence here. They'll know where every single competitor they have is on top of a map. They'll be given potential suppliers, potential customers, all the consumer expenditure information in your area, advertising analysis. It's going to show you exactly, you have a limited advertising budget because you're a small business. You can't spend millions in just mass market. We're going to show you exactly where the best spots for your specific industry are to advertise your product. We're going to give you this demographic analysis. It's not a spreadsheet of stuff that I have no idea how to read or I need an expert to read it. I'm going to give you something that's just on top of a map that's going to show you exactly where your target market is located at. And even if you didn't sell directly business to business, maybe I'm a manufacturer, I don't have customers in town. We offer business and industry analysis here that it's going to allow you to benchmark yourself in a bunch of different categories to help you know where you stand against people who are in the same industry as you locally, regionally, statewide, and nationwide. So now you're going to figure out exactly where you stand because you really won't know where to go forward unless you know where you're at. So this is going to show you how you could focus on the things that need help and the things that maybe you could relax on because you're doing better than most people in them. So this tool is huge. And I'm actually going to go ahead and jump into it now. So you should be able to see now our demonstration site. This is a live tool. It is actually on the Oklahoma City's page because they are a client of ours. But this is what it looks like. It's on their page, and now if you're an economic development organization on the call, things will start making sense to you if you had gone away from me. But this is the tool. This is what it looks like. So you can put it on any part of your website that you want. It's not redirected to a third-party website that they don't know or understand. This will be on your website. And for chambers, it's great because you can hide it behind the members-only section of your site so that they'll have to have their unique member login or they don't get access to it. So it's something that is added value that they do not get if they are not members. So the other great thing about it being on your website is your website, unlike your building, is open 24/7 and on holidays. So they can access your website if they work in the middle of the night on Christmas, which would be incredibly sad. But, some people have to do it. And they could access it, figure out different information that they need, and it's just loaded with data that you need to be successful. Now that data is accessible, intuition's gone out the window. Just look at data, and that's how you should make your decisions. There are a lot of companies making millions and millions and paying millions and millions for data that small businesses cannot afford, and this tool is going to bring that data to the small business. So there's several different categories here. One other thing I wanted to mention, these margins over here, are completely customizable. So if you had a large sponsor that wanted their banner on this page or whatever the case is, a link to their website, you could put that on there, and now you can even use this as just a money maker for you. But more importantly, it's to assist your membership, who is your chamber. So let's start into it with competitive intelligence, because we're talking chambers. So let's see, one category. Let's say I'm a roofer. So I do roofing, and I do it in Oklahoma City. And I'm not a part of the chamber because, I work all day long, I'm tired at night, and I'm not a people person. So I just want to work and go home, and that's it. Well, I'm going to sit down with that roofer and say, I'm going to have this preloaded, and I'm going to say, look, with this one section of the tool, you're going to see where every one of your competitors is. And clearly in Oklahoma City, roofing is a big deal. There's a lot of them. So you're going to see where every competitor is. So if you were in an industry where it was important to know who you're competing with dollars for, or if you were looking to open a second location or third or fourth, or to move locations, you're going to be able to see exactly where those who are competing with a limited amount of dollars are located at, and be able to strategize from there. Not only that, but if you sell to other businesses, so you're a roofer and you want to know where all the home builders are located within Oklahoma City here, just simply type in who would be your potential customer, and now we're doing chamber stuff. We're doing business to business, keeping everything local. Let's buy local, let's sell local, let's keep the dollars within our community. So I pulled up every potential customer I have, and like I said, with every industry this is going to work. But specifically for this one, now I can click on each one of these. I can get the name of their business and a phone number. And maybe now for both chamber members, I can say, hey, come meet me at the next business after hours. Let's have a beer together. Let's talk business, get to know one another, or at the golf tournament, whatever the case is. Now I can call every one of these people, introduce myself as a new roofer in town, and say, look, I can provide you my services for X price. Let's do business. So it's just a huge advantage. You could run through this entire list. Maybe it's 100 different companies and try to build up a business space, and you wouldn't be able to do that without a tool, and you certainly couldn't do it so easily. The next part, if you're supplied by somebody. So let's see, maybe you're supplied here by a hardware store as a roofer. So here we are. We have, specifically hardware stores listed here. Again, you do the same thing. You call each one of these. Just click on them. You got their name and their phone number. Just call them, and you can say, hey, right now I'm a roofer. I'm new in town. I buy 100,000 shingles a year, and right now I get them for, X amount per, I don't know, whatever you'd sell them for, bushel. That's probably not correct. I'm not a roofer. So now I can start making money by saving money. And again, it's keeping everything local. It's creating conversations with people in town. And now, again, if I'm a chamber member, I say, hey, I'd love to meet you at the next event. And this could even be a way a member recruits a member. So it's just a huge opportunity here. And I can modify industry if anything I like. I can pull up consumer expenditure here. Obviously, for roofers, there's not a whole lot of directly to the consumer. But let me modify this, and maybe I'm a dry cleaner. So just simply type that in and run it, and just simple to use. It's going to do the very same thing where it's going to list all my competition. I could run through the other tabs too, but we've already seen those. I can do consumer expenditure. So I can get in here, go into apparel services, and then I believe there's a tab specifically for dry cleaning. So now I'm finding out where the household consumer expenditure is specifically for what I sell. So for my product or service, I can find out exactly which households are spending the most money in what I do. That's knowledge that's invaluable. If I know where to target people who are already spending money anyway, I've already knocked out most of the problem. Now I simply just have to execute and make sure that I'm doing well. Because I've identified the households that are spending the most money specifically in my industry. So whether you go business to business or directly to consumer, this tab is huge for you. Next in the advertising tab, so where we just saw consumer household expenditure, and we saw which parts of town maybe were the best places to target for another location. Now this tab is showing me where the most revenue is being generated by business. So I've seen where the people live and spend the money. Now I'm seeing where the businesses make the money. And maybe there's a bit of a lapse where there's an opportunity to go out there and capture dollars that are traveling. So we actually have a tab that'll think for you. I love tools that'll think for me. And that's the most underserved markets tab. Simply click it, And now it's going to do just that for you. It's going to show you where there is a demand for your product or service. There are households spending money in those areas, but there's not a lot of revenue being generated by the businesses in those areas. There's an untapped market. Go ahead and start looking into those areas, and through the rest of the tool, really start to figure out, I think this area might be right for me. And you're going to be surprised a lot of the times. You can even start to identify leakage for economic development people and figure out really exactly what's happening within specific industries here. So, and like I said, you can always modify your industry and type in something else, and obviously this entire map's going to change. But there's many, many industries in our system. We have more than 93% of every industry in the country, so it's extremely specific. No matter what somebody does in your town, it's very likely going to be in the system. You can add filters on top of this as well. You can make it as specific as you want. So maybe I want to know just what the households that make $30,000 a year or more. Or maybe I want to know $40,000 a year or more. You'll see this gets more and more narrowed down, and it's going to show me precisely where the best locations for me to go ahead and run that advertisement, or to go ahead and open a new location. Whatever the case may be, this is going to give me an answer driven with data. And it's hard to argue with data. It's facts. The next portion is the demographics section. So we're helping people save money. We're helping people make money. That makes any business owner's ears perk up. That's the reason they work 90 hours a week, is to make money. So this is showing them exactly where they're going to make money and how they're going to make money. And then lastly, I'm sitting in their office and I'm like, all right, we got demographics. And they're going to say, well, yeah, the local EDO has a demographic page too. And I'm going to say, well, look, for Oklahoma City, for example, that's 610,000 people. And they're not telling me where any of them are. It's just saying, look, this is 610,000 people. It is typically on a spreadsheet, and it's going to say there's 231,000 people in my specific demographic spread throughout the entire city. For me as a small business owner, that would not do me much good. What's unique about our tool is we let you drill that down even further and use these heat maps again, because they're so easy to read. So maybe my target market is the 30 to 39-year-olds. Simply just click one of these eyeballs over here. Now it's going to come up with a heat map, and this is all the way down to the block level of specifically where my target market is. So I had already seen where revenue was being generated by businesses, where households were spending money. Now I'm seeing where I think my target market, who is most likely to do business with me, where they're located at. So if I had been doing a lot of business on this side of town or advertising on this side of town, I know I need to just get to the southern side of town and the western and the far northern side of town, because that's where my target market is located. And you're just throwing darts at a wide open wall if you don't have a tool that tells you exactly what you're looking for. Now, if you didn't want to do it just the whole city, maybe you want to do it within a boundary, because maybe you're a border business. You're on the city's boundary or the county boundary or even the state boundary. So long as we've identified that when building your tool, and yes, the tool can be built for larger than city county. We have many, many regional tools. So maybe I just do business over here, and it is across city and county lines. I can draw a boundary any shape I want to. You can get real fun with it. And simply say that's where I'm most likely to do business, or maybe that's the area I am located at. Just simply draw it. You can do demographics, consumer expenditure, or labor force. And now let's go ahead and create just the information I looked for. So earlier we were looking at 610,000 people. Now in that area right there, there's only 3,000 people there, and you're going to see what the makeup is of only 3,000 people specifically in that area. So you can do that for a much larger area. If you're more rural and you want to stretch it out and know what's going on regionally, you can draw a big regional map there. But for a very dense population, maybe you just want to draw it in and get it tighter. And then lastly in this portion, you can do around an address. So maybe I'm opening a second location, or I'm considering a few different strip malls I might want to move into. Just simply type the addresses you're looking at, and you can do a radius for demographics, consumer expenditure, or labor force. So within a mile all the way up to 60 miles around a specific address, you can see who's got more of your target market, which location is more likely for people to walk in your doors. Or, we haven't seen it yet, you can do drive time for the same exact things. You know, maybe a big manufacturing plant's moving in, or possibly moving in, and you want to know the labor force within 25 minutes of that specific location. Just tell the tool that, like I said, very easy, 3 clicks gets you there. It's not anything difficult. And now it's going to show you exactly what the labor force is made up of this huge, huge, huge area that can drive to my specific potential building in 25 minutes. And like I said, that's a labor force. You can also do it for demographics or consumer expenditure. And now you can see every single industry where the people work within 25 minutes of my specific location. And you can drop a heat map on top of that as well and see, visually, there's a lot of visual learners. I know I am one. Visually now, exactly where those people work, simply zoom in, and it's going to show you all the way down to that block level where that labor force of what you were looking for is located at. So it's cool stuff. It's new. It's unique, and it's easy, more importantly. A lot of times with small business owners, you need to make it as easy as possible. They may have got the internet for the first time last year, so we just need to make it simple. And this is something they can do on their own, and they don't need assistance from you. Obviously, you can provide it if you'd like, but it's very easy to navigate yourself. So lastly, the benchmarking I talked of. So maybe, like you said, there's a manufacturer or something that says, I don't do business with people within the community. I do it, nationally or internationally. Whatever the case is, they can get into this section and benchmark themselves against what people are doing, all the way out to the nation, but just state level, metro level, or city, county level. So it would just depend on what you needed. The tool's going to have something for you. So I can modify this here just to be able to look at more options. I won't do manufacturing because I don't exactly know what I'd be looking for in this specific region, but maybe I wanted to do beauty salons because every city has 1,000 of those. And now I can specifically go in here and type in what I made in revenue last year. So maybe I made $225,000 in revenue last year. Type that in, click run, and it's going to show you exactly where you fall versus your competitors, essentially, within your city, your county, your metro, your state, and nationally. So now you can figure out exactly where you stand so that later you can figure out where you need to go. And again, easy bar chart, easy to read. We also have heat maps. Again, we just try to make it as simple as possible so that there's no confusion. We also, at every portion of the tool, have a source button. So you simply click the source, and we're going to tell you where we got that portion of the data from. Throughout the tool, we have different sources. So we have hundreds of sources from public and private sources. So we always make sure we're transparent telling you where we got the data from, just so you have some confidence in that. And there's always going to be a part for that. We have different resources to offer them. It might make your job easier as a small business owner. Here, you're going to be able to see trending. Is my industry trending upwards? Is it trending downwards? What's going on within my area that with my specific small business in my industry? So again, that'll take you all the way out nationally. If you're some big manufacturer, that would be pertinent. But for this small business, maybe I only want to know in my general region. It's going to show me that, generally speaking, there are more opening than closing each year. So it is a good idea. But also you need to separate yourself from the competition because there is more competition for a limited amount of consumer dollars. Employee salaries, just type in, make sure you're paying fair wages. So if $20,000 is what I'm paying my employees on average, I'll see here that I'm doing pretty well. Maybe I won't lose employees because of what I'm paying them. Like I said, any industry would like to know what other people are doing so that, especially their competitors, so that they're remaining fair. And then how many employees I have. Obviously, for a beauty salon, maybe that's not a big deal. Even though, if maybe I needed something to push me over the edge, if I was considering hiring 1 or 2 more people, what's everyone else doing? Well, on average, there are about 5 employees per salon, so maybe it would make me feel more comfortable. But if I was opening, a brewery or something large, and I had no idea if it was normal to have 20 employees, 10 employees, 5 employees, this would help me know what everyone else is doing. And then after you type these things in, the tool is going to think for itself a little bit. So it's going to tell you things like how cost effective you are. This might tell you that there might be room for more revenue if you did hire another employee or 2. It's also going to tell you expected revenue per capita. These are dollars out there. It's up to you to figure out where to capture them. If they're being spent, let's capture them. Let's use the rest of the tool to figure out where they're being spent from. And then local turnover, expected turnover rate. Obviously, every industry deals with turnover, and it can be tough. It can put a small business out of business. Know what it costs to hire and to train somebody, and budget for that. Prepare for a 13% turnover rate if you're a beauty salon in this area, just because that's the average each year within your industry. And then we can even take it as far as healthcare costs. So maybe I'm budgeting for healthcare, and I think I could do $4,500 per employee. Is that something reasonable for my industry within my area? And this is going to show you that it's more reasonable to budget about $5,000. If you'd already got a $4,500 quote, that's great. I would probably go with it. But if it's for budgeting purposes, just add a little more on top of that. And then you can even drill it down as far as how many dollars you're putting towards per 100 per employee into workers' compensation. making sure that you're doing a proper amount there, because unless someone told you, you probably don't know. And at the end, there's a summary view button with, your category, what your number amount was, and then, it couldn't be easier to read an arrow that goes, green, you're doing good. A child could figure this out. So over in the green, you're doing well. In the yellow, you're kind of average. And in the red, those are the areas you need to work on. So if I'm a small business owner wearing every hat in my organization, kind of like if I'm a chamber employee, I go in here and I make sure that I'm working on the things that need to be worked on. And maybe I can spend less of my time in the things I'm doing well on. And I can work my budget that way. So based off this entire tool, there is at least one section for everybody. And for a lot of different, small businesses, all 4 of these sections are going to benefit you equally in one way or the other. And you're going to talk to small businesses about how you specifically, your organization will be responsible for driving business into their doors and creating commerce, which is in our name. We might as well live up to it. So that is the end of the demonstration portion. I try to keep it at around a half hour. We're open to questions now. If you want to go ahead and take that back over, Eric. Eric?
Okay, all right. Well, thanks, Mark. And we'll just wait a minute to just make sure that people have a chance to enter questions.
Yeah, and let me put our contact information up on the screen here for anybody that I should be sharing my screen still. That needs our contact information. That is me, who is Mark, and Eric.
All right. Well, we had one question come in a little early in the presentation for how does the software compile the data set, and largely where does the data come from? I know you went over a little bit about the data sources, but maybe just mention that again.
Sure. It depends on what portion of the tool you're talking about. So it does come from, like I said, dozens and more than 100 different sources, both public and private. A lot of the data is proprietary as well. So depending on what portion of the tool, it's going to be different, as well as going to be updated at different times, which I didn't mention. This would be a good segue into it. But if our data source or our data updates quarterly, your tool is going to update quarterly. And we're going to send you an email that says, hey, check out the business data. It's updated. And it's a good reason for you to reach back out to your membership and say, hey, you haven't looked at the tool in a while. Check this out. And you're going to stay top of mind with them just for doing that. And it's something that took no effort on your part. So our business data is updated quarterly. Our demographic data is updated semi-annually. So right now, your demographic data you're probably working on is probably 2010 census. That's old data already. Our data is going to update semi-annually with our demographics. So it's staying current, it's staying fresh, so that you can make the best decisions possible. No portion of our data ever is going to be over a year old. So a year is, in the data world is actually considered new. That's young. And our data will at least be within the last year. So it stays current, and there's just data from all over the place. If you wanted to know more specifically, I could send you a pretty big list of every source that we get it from, which I would be happy to do so. Just shoot me an email, and I will gladly supply that.
Okay. We also had a couple people who just on their end had some internet trouble asking whether this would be made available in another form. So I can just say that all of the people that have registered for the webinar will be following up, and we'll be able to send you a link to a video recording of the webinar. So just in case there was any problems on your side of the internet, you can have this the content to review later.
Perfect. I imagine there might have been a pricing question in there, Eric.
Yeah, folks are always interested in what does this service cost.
All good things in life are free, right? I wish that were true. There obviously is a small cost to this. Like I said, it's not something that's going to run you millions of dollars like it would be to build it itself. Every community is going to be a little different, so I can't say specifically what it's going to cost you. But on average, it's really only going to run a few $100s a month for most organizations. That's maybe the cost of one membership a month. So if you gain or retain a member per month through providing this type of data and this great software, you've already broke even. And if I were your rep, I would use this and use this and use this, and I would make myself a lot of money and your organization but I can't say specifically exactly how much it would cost you, but on a monthly basis, you know, in that $400-ish range, on an annual basis, between $4,000 or $5,000, something like that, for most organizations.
Okay, we had a follow-up to a question about basically us sending you the webinar video. Someone asked if they can, once they get that webinar video, if they can post it themselves on a members page. And basically, just to respond to that, you're free to do what you want with that webinar video. If you want to promote it and show it to your members, that's a resource what we can certainly make available for you.
Absolutely, and I also want to mention, Eric, that I am a resource. I'm an advocate for you. So if this is something that you wanted to do in private, you didn't just want to show somebody a recording of a video that can get a little boring, I will happily do a demonstration for anybody. It won't cost you a dime, a live demonstration. So you can ask live questions. You can interrupt me as I go. I enjoy doing that, and I would happily do it. Just reach out to me if you wanted to, you know, have your president or your board or whoever. I would be happy to do that online.
All right. Someone asked, we liked a lot of the reports we were showing. Is there any way to export them or print them?
Right now, we have built it so that you can simply print the web page. That's not ideal, we know. And since we know that, our first order of business is to have an export report button, so export through PDF. And that way it's clean and it's one whole page of exactly what I just typed, rather than having to print the entire web page. And our engineering team is working on it as we speak. So I am hoping to roll that out this month. So if anybody in this room were to become a client, it would very likely be something that would already be done. If not, the good news is every update that we ever do from now until forever is no additional cost. We're going to update your tool as we update it and improve it and make it better. So you're always going to have the most current tool out there, and we do that all on our end. It's no requirement from you guys.
Someone also asked if there was any assistance we can provide in terms of reaching out to local business communities. And I just wanted to note that we do have several resources available to basically training resources and templates for how you can, templates for flyers, templates for PowerPoint presentations, ways that you can reach out and let people know about the service and what it can do, and so in specifically for the context of local business owners.
Absolutely, and we want you guys to succeed as much as you want to succeed with this. So our marketing stuff, everything is always at your disposal, and again, at no additional cost.
Okay, well, I think that's, if anyone else has any more questions, please, we'll give you another 30 seconds or so if you want to send them. But Mark, I just want to say thanks for the presentation, and certainly everyone has our contact information. If you ever want to, if you come up with a question that we didn't answer today that you want to have addressed, we can certainly follow up with you, and we'll also be following up with you just to let you know when the video of the webinar is available, and just to make sure you have our contact information in case you didn't copy it down here.
Yeah, and I will, if any of you will be at ACCE or any of the upcoming chamber conferences, come find us, come introduce yourself. I like to put faces with email addresses, so would be happy to meet you and go over everything in person.
Okay, great. Well, thanks everyone. We appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you have a great day.
All right. Thank you, Eric.